Welcome back to another spill drop tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to build a vertical farm. Some of these features are a little bit extra, but I like the aesthetic of this tower, the way that it's laid out here. Let's take a tour of this base. From here we've got the front entrance. As you jump up and in, right up here you've got a peek down on top of this siren light that you can use to look down outside of the front door and make sure nobody is door camping you. I've also got a locker pod here in this honeycomb and a mixing table right here. On this side you can see that we've got some storage, some drop boxes here, a little bit of barrel storage down here, and through here you can see that we've got quite a bit of storage for seeds or for clones, depending on what it is you have more of. I never have enough room for all of my seeds, and so I thought a design like this could give me a little bit more storage space. Down this way, we have the core of the base. We have our loot room here with 10 loot barrels down here. You can reach all the way in the back by using this little fire to stand on, get you that extra height up over these middle barrels. And the same up here on the top shelf, like so. TC room here has a shelf. It's got 7 barrels total and a small box here. You can fit an additional small box on this corner if you like. I like to have a little bit of room in front of my TC in case I need to access something quickly. Now up above the entrance floor, we have some planters. You can see this top shelf is getting plenty of light and plenty of water. Our sprinklers are going to be placed on these shop fronts. I'll show you exactly how to get that placement once we get to the build stage. I've tried a few different variants for lighting in each of these floors. Unfortunately, the light does not reach all the way down to this lower level. So that sort of illustrates how important it is to make sure that the lighting and the water for your farms are placed appropriately so that the planter boxes are getting all the light and water that they need to grow. These upper planter boxes are doing just fine. Up on this floor, I have the light placed behind this shelf, so it's technically directly above all of these planter boxes, and you can see that the plants are all quite happy with how everything is going. On this top floor, I have the light a little bit further away, but you can see that these planter boxes are still getting plenty of light and plenty of water, so you may have to play with the placement on these lights to make sure that it works out the best for you and your setup. On earlier testing, I attempted to use the netting that you can climb for this segment here, where I've got these fences, and that did not work super well. Didn't allow the water to pass through to get to these planter boxes back here. Now up top, we have our electricals to keep this whole system running. The windmill generates power for the battery. The battery flows power into this switch, which is then branched off to the water pump here and to the lighting down below. The water comes from these rain catchers here, which are daisy chained together, as you can see, from the output node to the input node on the side here, and then from this output node where they're all collected to this water pump, where the water is then pumped into these water barrels, which are similarly daisy chained together. This water barrel here then drains into this water pump here, which does not require any power, but is nice in case you want to turn the water off for any reason. I've also done some testing with the difference between using full floors for your farms, as you can see here, and using the metal floor grill, as you can see here. I haven't noticed a significant difference between the two designs, but whatever looks best for you or works best for your design is the one that you should go with. If you're in an area that rains frequently, you might want to leave a grill open on the top so you can get some free rainwater for this upper level here. And that's the full design. It's quite simple, as you can see, and you can expand it even higher if you wish, or make it even wider than it currently is if you need a little bit more production. But you will notice that the top floor becomes less stable the higher that you go, so just keep that in mind. Now let's go ahead and build this out. We'll start with this lower section here that has honeycomb, and we'll create a relatively secure starter base for this concept. Come to a nice clear patch over here, and what you're going to want to start with is 2 square foundations like so. And that will be the full footprint for this base. As you continue to grow and progress through the wipe, you may wish to add honeycomb to the core, which you can do by just placing triangles there and building the honeycomb up, but those are not necessary for this design. Alright, so the way that this would work, once you've got your foundations down, is you're going to start by closing in this entire floor, and then we'll get to the jump up. And that is how you get the base started. Now this does secure the roof by having sort of an impassable doorway here that won't allow you to get up any higher or drop down into this section. It also does unfortunately lock out your peak down here to the front door and make it a little bit trickier to secure your airlock here, so please keep that in mind. But otherwise this is quite a secure little base. Once you've reached tier 2, you may wish to add garage doors to your base instead of these double doors, which will make your base much more secure and easy to navigate. You may also wish to add your locker pod right in here. And if you want to use the same design that I did for the seed storage, you can place your prison cells here, and then you can stack your small boxes quite easily from this step here. You want to get your first box in the middle lined up with that central bar on the prison cell as close as you can. Get that box placed, and then the ones on either side should be pretty easy to place down after that. And then you can just proceed to stack your boxes from there. You may need additional boxes or barrels to stand on in order to get the upper level stacked boxes there, but that gives you pretty much the general idea of how that works. Of course, you can also outfit your loot storage room here with boxes or barrels, however you see fit. The most standard and easygoing design that I've come across uses just these large boxes like so. Then the small boxes fit in pretty nicely right here, like that. And they'll all be tucked away very nicely behind the garage door, and they can't be reached or looted through the door, which is quite nice. Alright, we'll hop up here to this floor and start getting everything laid out for the farm plots. Get your wall frames placed there for the shop fronts. And then you repeat that process 2 more times. If you get to this stage and you already have the triangular ladder hatch, you can put those in. That is the base secure up to this point. Let's lock down the core with a ladder hatch as well here. Now you can use a garage door or just a double door on the top. I'm going to use a double door for this example. We'll get our battery placed. Something to stand on here. Alright, power into that battery. Now we'll get the electrical setup for the lights. Now, depending on the climate that you build in, you may need to add heaters. I recommend just placing them either back here, if you can reach that, or on one of these side walls here, as they should be able to heat all 4 of these planter boxes pretty easily from either location. Alright, and that should have all of the lights turned on and all of the heaters turned on as well. There's still an additional 27 rust watts left over on the circuit, so you can run some other lights or perhaps some defense measures if you'd like. You also may wish to upgrade the battery later on, in which case you'll likely have to move it from this location to somewhere else. You can secure an area up here with a large battery if you'd like, or you can store the battery somewhere lower on one of these farm floors. Now, to get the water catcher system set up, you want to just go ahead and come over to one of these little triangles and start placing your water catchers. And then you'll want to daisy chain these together, of course. For your sprinklers, to make sure that they're hitting all of these planter boxes correctly, you want to get it lined up on this center shop front here, and you want to get it flat on the shop front so you can see that bottom bolt is kind of disappearing behind the window, right about there. It also makes it quite easy to access the input and output nodes for the sprinkler, which is nice. Same kind of thing right here. Get it centered as far down as it'll go. Water in. And then the pass through down below. You can see that it's already starting to get some water passing through here. All of these planter boxes are getting water, which is awesome. This one a little bit slower than the others, but that's okay. These ones down here are getting water as well. And these ones down here are also getting water, which is great. So all of our planter boxes have water and sunlight, or, artificial light, whatever the case may be. And then we can also turn on this water pump so it starts filling up these barrels as well. The sprinklers are going to pull from this barrel, which will in turn pull from these other 2. But once all 3 of these barrels are empty, the system will be pulling from these water catchers, which should hopefully be refilling these barrels as we go. And that is the farm portion of this base fully fleshed out. Now we can drop down here and get the core finished. Now you can use large boxes for your loot room if you like. For this design, I've used the lower barrels, the horizontal ones. So I'll show you exactly how I did that for this design here. So you're going to want to get these pushed as far back as you can with the handle facing you. And then you're going to want to flip them around so that the handle's facing away from you. Push them as far up against the other barrel as you can. Same here. So you want to make sure that the handle is still facing in, and you'll place this last one as close to that other barrel as you can, like that. Do the same up top. Like so. With your garage door down, you can see that all of those barrels are fully hidden, which is quite convenient for us. And for accessibility's sake, we'll get our campfire down. Campfire can go right up against that wall. And that will allow you to get that extra verticality here to see over the front barrels. The same kind of way down here. Get that barrel as far back as you can. Flip the next one around on it. And then once more here. All right. And that is your loot room fully outfitted. You can add some workbenches in here if you like, or some mixing tables, perhaps a bed, whatever would help you get your base to its fully functional state. And if this is going to be your main, then I would argue that you might need a little bit more honeycomb on the core. But if it's just going to be a farm for you, then you might not even have to worry about that too much. But that is the farm design that I've got for you today. It has a slightly smaller footprint, which will allow it to fit a little bit more neatly within smaller compounds or in a place where you don't have quite as much room to sprawl out. That's all I've got for you today. This was my vertical farm design. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below, and I will gladly respond to those as quickly as I can. If you liked this video and you want to see more designs like this, then please consider subscribing to the channel. And this has been your friend Spilldrop, and I will catch you in the next video.